So, all of you all, welcome for today evening's Zoom class. Let's start our class with a Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunvitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome all of you all for today's class. On Tuesday, that is day before yesterday, was the appearance day of Sri Madhva, Ramanujacharya. So it's generally a customary to have some katha related to the great personalities' birthday or appearance day. So today we'll be speaking about Ramanujacharya and how magnificent was his life journey was. Of course, time will be too short for us to complete the entire katha, but definitely we'll try to complete some major points. Basically, this world is compared to a deep well, a dark, deep well, and every living entity is stuck or trapped in this well. So it is said that there are four sampradayas which are compared to as four ropes which can be used to come out of this deep dark well. They are the four ropes by which a person can just cling on to and come out of the well. I think most of you all must be aware of the four sampradayas. We come from the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, then there is Rudra Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, and Sri Sampradaya. Each have their own acharyas, their heads. Vishnu Swami heads Rudra Sampradaya. Nimbarkaracharya heads Kumar Sampradaya. Madhvacharya heads Brahma Sampradaya or Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. The word Gaudiya came because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who joined this Sampradaya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming from Gaudadesh. Bengal was called as Gaudadesh. So that's why it is called as Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Madhva stands for Madhvacharya. And of course, last is Sri Sampradaya, which is headed by Ramanujacharya. So by these four sampradayas, headed by the four acharyas, the sampradayas have been going ahead very strongly. And Padma Puran clearly says, Sampradaya Vihina Mantra Vifala. If one follows any other sampradaya other than these four bona fide sampradayas, then the mantra given by that sampradaya is not having its effect. It is Vifala. So Sri Sampradaya, it started from Lakshmi Devi. It is said that Lord Narayan gave the knowledge to Lakshmi Devi. And in that sampradaya, we see Ramanujacharya, who was one of the very leading acharyas. And 2 points from their philosophy was taken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The 2 points were pure devotional service and service to Vaishnavas. It is something which is very difficult for us to follow. Pure devotional service, okay, one may try to, but service to Vaishnavas becomes a big impediment some way or the other. That is why Ramanujacharya explained this very nicely. So to start with the birth of or the greatness of Ramanujacharya, we should first know his spiritual master. Who was his spiritual master? And how he got inspired from a spiritual master whom he had not seen or whom he had not met. Yes, it's a very inspiring story which is going to be a big part sure for all of us. Narada Muni, an expert in yoga, and he had collected all the songs of the Alvars. Now, who are Alvars? Alvars are basically pure devotees in South India are referred to as Alvars. In fact, the Alvars spread all over the country in various Divya Desh, and they were in charge of various temples, so to say. But basically, they were all pure devotees. And he had compiled the Divya Prabandham. It is actually an essence of Vedas in the Tamil literature. And his son was Ishwaranath. Ishwaranath did not have a child for a long time. So he took his wife and had gone for a Tirtha Yatra. Now, one may say, in this modern age, what is the significance of Tirtha Yatra? Why don't we go out for a nice outing, nice to go to a nice hill station or to the some resort or some beach or some nice scenic place? What's the big significance of going to a Tirtha Yatra? Doesn't look little outdated, something crazy. But one has to understand, if one has to get out of the cycle of birth and death, it is not going to be possible by going to such places where one will incur more karmas. One may go to some hill station, but do you think one is going to land up without any karmas? The karmas are going to increase in any way. But if one goes to a Tirtha Yatra or to a Tirtha Sthala, Tirtha is very nicely explained as Tarayati iti Tirtha. Tarayati means one who can swim over. Swim over what? This material world. That is what is the importance of going to a Tirtha Sthan. So Ishwarnath had gone on a Tirtha Yatra, and after coming back from Tirtha Yatra, immediately his wife got pregnant and she was to give birth to a child. So he named the child as Yamuna, based on the Yamuna river when he had gone to Vrindavan. So he says, let my child be named as Yamuna. Nowadays, children also are given various names. Some names are Karam, Daitya. Daitya means Asuras. In those days, people had a very thoughtful process of giving a name. A name should be such that it will enhance your bhakti by again and again taking that name. But unfortunately, Ishwarnath died very early, and his father, Nath Muni, took sannyas. Yamuna was brought up by his mother and grandmother. At the age of 5, he was sent to Gurukul under a teacher named Bhashyacharya. Bhashyacharya was a very powerful scholar, and Yamuna was his brightest student, one of the brightest and favorite students he had. In those days in South India, Pandya Raja was ruling the kingdom. Basically, there are two dynasties which were ruling South India. One was a Pandya and other was a Chola dynasty. So during his time, it was the Pandya dynasty who were ruling the kingdom. There was a very proud and so to say very thinking himself too great, too proud, was a scholar named Vidwajan Kolahal, and he was in the king's court. His speciality was his knowledge was so profound that he would defeat anyone who would come in front of him. Rather, he would challenge each and everybody. And it was so said that if someone lost against him, he would have to pay tax. Lifelong, he would have to pay some tax towards that Vidwajan Kolahal. The name itself says Vidwajan Kolahal. He used to create Kolahal in the hearts of people by his knowledge. He had defeated Bhashyacharya, but Bhashyacharya could not give him tax for 2 years. Yamuna was just 12 years old that time. One of Kolahal's disciples had come to Bhashyacharya's Gurukul. He was looking out for him. But unfortunately, that day, everyone had gone out. It was only he who was available at that time. In this 12-year, Yamuna was wondering why these people had come. His disciple came and started insulting his master. He said, if Bhashyacharya cannot pay the tax, then he thinks he will be smart enough to defeat our master. He is already defeated. Again, he wants to think over smart about him. And he said very bad languages he used against his master. Yamuna could not bear it. And Yamuna started getting angry. He said, it is nice to be knowledgeable, but what is the use? Your teacher is too proud about his knowledge. And such people, this is not knowledge, this is waste. Thus, he insulted back Vidwajan Kolahal and his disciple. Finally, Yamuna challenged Kolahal. And no one was there in the ashram that time, and it was just 12-year-old boy, and he had challenged him. Kolahal, on hearing Yamuna's challenge, laughed. Said, this small boy, what does he think about himself? He's just 12-year-old, and he thinks he's going to defeat me. The king was also there, and he felt something great about this boy. 12-year-old boy. Definitely, he must be having some stuff. That's why he's able to challenge him. So he sent a messenger and said, get him. Get that boy over here. On that, Yamuna replied, see, I am going to challenge and defeat Kolahal. So tell the king he will have to send a palanquin for me and some soldiers. Then only I will come. The king was really shocked at the boy's words. Immediately the king accepted and sent a golden palanquin and some guards to get him back. So it became a talk of the town, and finally Yamuna's teacher, when came back, blessed him to win. All the Brahmanas blessed him as Vamandev took back everything from Bali Maharaj. Similarly, you will bring back everything from Kolahal, because there was hardly any learned scholar whom Kolahal had not defeated and was taking tax from them. As Yamuna reached the palace, the queen and king started arguing. The queen said, I'm sure this young boy is going to win today. On that, the king said, let's put a bet. The queen said, if the boy will win, and if not, I will become the king's servant. The king said, okay, if the boy wins, I will give him half my kingdom. So, with this bet, both the king and the queen, along with Yamuna and Kolahal, sat in the court. And finally, the debate started. First, in the starting, Kolahal made ridiculous statements about Yamuna and then showered a volley of questions on him, which Yamuna very strongly answered all these questions. He in fact said to Kolahal, why don't you ask me some questions which are worthy of me? Why are you asking so childish questions to me? On that, Kolahal said, one thing you do, you ask me the questions, I will answer you back. He said, fine. He said, I'm going to make three statements and you will have to negate them, or you have to say, or you have to refute them. The first question he said was, or the first line statement he made was, my mother is not a barren woman. That means Kolahal had to prove his mother was a barren woman. And how is it possible? Already Yamuna, the child, was sitting in front of him. The second question is, our king is a pious person. That means Kolahal had to prove the king is not a pious person. Not a pious person to prove in front of the king is a risky job. And last was still a bigger question. Our queen is a chaste woman. That's what Yamuna said. That means Kolahal had to prove the queen was not a chaste woman. Again, in front of the court, Kolahal was speechless. He said, in any way, I will lose. But if I prove that it is right, even if I prove it, though he didn't know how to prove it, but if I prove it also, in that case also, the king is going to kill me. So the whole hall went silent and everyone was waiting for Yamuna to give the answer. The Yamuna said for the first question, as per Manusmriti, a lady who has only one son is considered as barren. So so I am the only son of my mother. So my mother is as good as a barren woman. Point number one, statement number one proved. Then the second statement, there is no doubt that our king is a very pious person. But as per Manu Samhita, the king has to take 1/6 of the sins made by the citizens. He has to take 1/6 of the sins of the citizens. And in Kali Yuga, people are very, very sinful. Hence, the king is not a pious person. And lastly, our queen is a very chaste woman. But as per Manu Samhita, the king's body is a residing place for 8 devatas like Indra, Vayu, Kuber, etc. Hence, indirectly, the queen is married to 8 more people. Thus, the queen is not a chaste woman. Point 3 also proved. And immediately the queen shouted, Alabandar, Alabandar. And there was joy in the queen's side. Everyone was zapped by this answer given by Yamunacharya. In fact, from that day itself, Yamunacharya got a new name, Alabandar. And the king has promised to the queen, had to give half the kingdom to Yamunacharya. Here, Kolal also had to forego the tax to all the people whom he had won over to. So finally, Yamuna got half the kingdom and he started expanding it also. Time passed very fast and Yamuna was 35 years old. But the problem was this saintly scholar had become totally engrossed in worldly enjoyment. In the meantime, his grandfather passed away and he was not at all happy seeing his grandson not a devotee and enjoying pleasures of the kings. Before dying, he told Ram Mishra, his best and close devotee, to get Yamuna back to devotion. Ram Mishra came to the palace and tried to meet Yamuna, who is now called as Alabandar, the king, but he could not get any way to enter into the palace or meet the king. He thought for a long time, how do I meet the king? Finally, he got an idea. Daily, he used to get Tiruvalai leaves. Now, these leaves are a special type of vegetable. These leaves were used as vegetables. And the specialty of these leaves were it used to increase the mode of goodness in a person. He knew very well that the king or Alabandar or Yamuna right now is in the mode of passion and he cannot get any good advice at this time. He cannot get any good advice at this time because he's in the mode of passion. So he had decided for one thing for sure, that somehow I have to get the king to the mode of goodness. So he started giving this Tiruvala leaves to the cook daily. And he told the cook that you cook this and give it to the king. It will increase his longevity and health. And after all, he is our king. We should have a good king that he can live long and help us. So the cook started cooking this in his daily vegetables. One item was this leaf which was cooked. And Yamuna used to love it. Every time the food used to come, he used to eat this very deliciously. Suddenly, after a few months, Ram Mishra stopped giving this Tiruvalai leaves. So the king called the cook and asked him, why are you not getting that special dish which you are making nowadays? The cook said that a sadhu was getting it as a special vegetable for the king, simply for your betterment. He had no personal desire behind it. He didn't take any money for it also. On that, the king told, whenever that sadhu comes again, get him to me. The king wanted to meet the sadhu. And the very next day, Ram Mishra came to the cook with some Tiruvalai leaves. The cook took him to the king. The king asked him, what reward did he want? Ram Mishra said, I would like to talk to you something very secret. So please send all your people out of this courtroom and only you and me should be there. So all the people went out and it was only the king and Ram Mishra in a room. Then he told the king that he was his grandfather's disciple and he wanted to give him a treasure which his grandfather had left for him. When the king asked, he told, I do not carry this treasure everywhere. You will have to come because it is kept inside a place which has got 7 walls, guarded by a snake, and is in between 2 rivers. There is also a secret mantra to unlock this treasure. Immediately, as any passionate person would do. But though Yamuna was now trying to slowly shift towards mode of goodness, gave his kingdom in the hands of his ministers and asked them to take care of it. And he left with Ram Mishra to that secret place. If you see that description of the place given, it matches exactly with Srirangam. Srirangam is a temple which is covered by 7 walls. Some other time when we'll get time, I'll describe to you the story of the 7 walls, how it was built. Very nice story. It was built as it's a city inside 7 walls, and the city is nothing but the temple, and it is guarded by a snake. That is actually Srirangam, Sriranganathapuram, where Srirangaraj is sitting or lying down on a snake bed of Sheshnath and covered between 2 rivers. Here, Kaveri river splits into two, and it is in between this Srirangam temple is there, and both sides the river splits and flows either sides of it. Even there is a story behind it. Some other time we'll discuss it out. So he left with Ram Mishra, and it is always said a company of sadhu means we'll be discussing about only slokas and about Lord. So Ram Mishra was going with him, was traveling with Yamuna, and all through the way he was talking to him about the various slokas of Bhagavad Gita, about the various leelas of the Lord, and somehow or the other, Yamuna was getting a divine pleasure. He had been missing this for a long time because he was engrossed in this so-called worldly pleasure. Finally, when he reached near Srirangam, there he heard the verse, Mai eva mana adatsva, Mai buddhi niveshaya, Nivasyasya mam evam, Ata urdam na samshaya. This is 12th chapter, 8th verse. And he started shouting when he heard this verse. He started shouting, yes, this is what I was looking out for. And immediately he surrendered to Ram Mishra and he said, please initiate me, please initiate me. Finally, when he entered the Srirangam temple, he was in full of ecstasy. After all, in childhood, he had done a lot of bhakti. That is why it is said, if one does some devotional service at the young age, even in the middle ages, if someone gets diverted, there are bright chances for that person to come back to devotional life. And the secret mantra for the treasure was Namo Narayanaya. And this was the secret mantra which Ram Mishra gave to Yamunacharya. So Yamuna then took Diksha from Ram Mishra and never returned back to the palace. He gave back the kingdom back to the king and kept a small pot for the money which could come from that small pot to maintain the temple. He wrote many books like Stotra Ratnavali. The great sannyasi from Sri Sampradaya is one of the great acharyas. That is why he is called as Yamunacharya. So from here we come to know how Yamuna in the childhood was so devoted in bhakti and such a eminent scholar. But then in between, when he was given some name, fame, and opulence, how he got drifted back. But under the guidance of a spiritual master, however drifted one may be, he will come back to his original course. Yamuna had a sannyasi disciple. His name was Shailapurna. And Shailapurna had two sisters, Kantimati and Diptimati. Kantimati got married to Keshavacharya, but they did not have a child for a long time. Finally, they were regularly going to the Parthasarathi temple, and finally, in 1017 AD, they got blessed by a child. At the same time, Diptimati, her sister, also begot a child, son. When Shailapurna went to see both the children, he saw Kantimati's child and he named him as Ramanuj, Ram's younger brother, is what Ramanuj means. Anuj of Ram, and Diptimati's child was given the name Govinda. An astrologer had predicted that Ramanujacharya would one day, Ramanuja, that time he was not Acharya, Ramanuj would one day become a great Acharya. In the schools, he was extremely a brilliant child. Ramanuja was staying in a village called Bhutapuri, and from where Kanchipuram was very nearby. And there was a great salted devotee named Kanchipurna who used to visit Bhutapuri often and on. Though Kanchipurna was coming from a very Shudra class, he was considered to be the most elevated soul, higher than even Brahmanas. He had the service of fanning Lord Varadaraj personally, and Lord Varadaraj used to personally talk to him. In fact, in this whole katha, you will see n number of places where the deities talk with those acharyas. From this, we understand if one is pure and if one is able to have this pure passion for devotion, he can definitely get connected to Lord. And Lord reciprocates in various ways. So, staying in Bhutpuri was a small village. Once the young Ramanuja invited Kanchipurna to his house and offered respects to him. He was quite humble and his seva was extremely devoted. He had prasad in his house and spent that night in his place. So slowly Kanchipurna was coming close with Ramanuj. But the problem was Ramanuj at the age of 16 got married, and within 1 month of his marriage, his father died. Ramanuj then shifted to Kanchipuram with his wife and mother. Ramanuj used to go to a Pathshala of Yadav Prakash. Now the problem was Yadav Prakash was a Mayavadi. Now you must be wondering who is a Mayavadi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Mayavadis are worse than Asuras. Yes. मायावादी भाष्य सुनी लो होई सर्वनाश का सत्यानाश होगा उससे. The problem with Mayavadi is they think both the living entity and God are one. The living entity and God have come under Maya. Once they attain perfection and develop some vairagya, the person will get liberation or moksha and become God. He will not go to God, he will become God. This is called as Advait or non-dual principle. Advaitvad, you must have heard of. This is Advaitvad. Both are God. The Mayavadis do not accept Bhakti Marga, and that they do not accept that the living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord, and the service to Lord is an eternal process. Generally, these people say, or you must have heard these people say, that once you get liberated, you go and get merged with the Lord. That means there is no service after your death. However, you have to understand one thing very nicely. Service to the Lord never ends. Even when you get liberated, you go to the Lord's kingdom and you serve the Lord. That is the reason why we do some practice of how to serve the Lord in this world itself. And that is the only process by which one can attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death. But their definition of liberation is totally different, wrong. This was basically Shankaracharya's philosophy, and Yadav Prakash was in his parampara, but no doubt he was a very learned scholar. One might think, what is the need for a person like Ramanujacharya or Ramanuj to study under a Mayavadi? There are various answers given by various acharyas. Some said that his financial condition of the family was so bad that they were forced to put him to some Gurukul so that he gets some knowledge. Secondly, some people say Ramanuj wanted to defeat the Mayavadis, so he got enrolled in their school. He wanted to defeat the Mayavadis. That was his main idea. Though Ramanuja was attending lectures of Yadav Prakash, the problem was he was not liking it because it was always against God, but he was helpless. Once, when all his classmates had gone out for lunch, Yadav Prakash called Ramanuj and asked him to do some seva. He asked him to do some oil massage to him. And it is always considered in those days that a disciple should always serve the Guru in some way or the other. And giving an oil massage to the spiritual master is supposed to be a very good seva. So Ramanuj, as an obedient student, was giving oil massage to Yadav Prakash. In the morning session, he had given a class. Yadav Prakash had given a class, and one student had a doubt on this. The class was on Chandogya Upanishad, and he wanted to have an explanation of the verse which was discussed in the morning. The verse was Tasya Vrata Kapisam Pundrikaksham Eva Yakshani. So Prakash Yadav started his explanation, and definitely Mayavad hai, so explanation will be a Mayavad style. The verse describes about the eye of the Lord. Pundrikam refers to Vishnu, Akshani refers to eyes, and Kapi refers to monkey, and Asam refers to the back portion of the monkey. So Yadav Prakash told Lord Vishnu's eyes are as red as the back portion of the monkey. Hearing this, Ramanuja was shattered. Suddenly, Yadav Prakash could feel some hot water drops falling on his back. He turned back and he saw tears were rolling down of Ramanuja's eyes. He asked him, "What's the problem? Why are you crying?" He said he was very much pained by the explanation given by him on that verse. This angered the teacher. He said, "How dare you say like this?" Mockingly he said, "So I'm going to have another commentary from another Shankaracharya. Okay, give your explanation." On that, Ramanuja gave a commentary. As Kapisam can be split up as Kapi Jalam Pibati, Ka Jalam Pibati, that which dries up or evaporates water. And what is that which dries up and evaporates water? The sun. So, referred to as sun. And Asam refers to blossoming of the lotus. So the Lord's eyes are as beautiful as a blossoming lotus flower and as red as the sun. On hearing this, the teacher was shocked and he was afraid that in future he is going to be a big danger to Mayavad philosophy and he will start spreading pure devotional service. Slowly he was getting popular. Ramanuja was getting popular among the people, and which Yadav Prakash did not like it. Ramanuja's brother Govinda, his mother's sister's son, Govinda, his cousin brother, was also in the same school. One day, the teacher called for a secret meeting with all his disciples and told them that Ramanuja is going to be a big threat for their philosophy. Some children said, remove him out of the school. But then others said, if he is removed out, he would be more free and he would spread pure devotional service outside, which is more dangerous for us. So what do we do? Finally, they thought of a plan. Prakash Yadav said, we will do one idea. We will go for a yatra to have bath in Ganga. And on the way, we will find a proper place, a secluded place or a secluded place, and we will kill him. And we'll tell that he got lost in the woods or got lost in the jungle. And this way, we will get rid of him. All finally agreed. However, Govind was not there, not called in this meeting. So only Ramanuj and Govind were not there in this meeting. Rest all the students were there. So all the parents, when they came to know that the children are going for a yatra, they were all very happy. They are going for Ganga Snan. And Yadav Prakash thought, even if I kill this Brahmana, what's the big deal? I'm going to go to Ganga and take a Ganga Snan, and I will be washed off my sins of killing a Brahmana. So all the children went home and informed their parents, and the parents were all very happy, and they all left for this yatra. They all started walking and they reached the Vindhya hills, where the teacher thought it is the right place to complete their plan. Govind, however, overheard this plan when they were discussing over there, and he was shocked that they were planning to kill Ramanuj. He immediately came to Ramanuj and told him, my dear brother, please run away. They are planning to kill you. Ramanuj was shocked when he heard this. He was just a 16-year-old boy, and that news was breaking him completely. He could never think of his teacher doing such an act towards him. He immediately went into the forest. He was initially afraid of the wild animals in the forest, but then he said, what is the use of being a devotee if I am afraid of this? Lord will be taking care of me. And he went ahead. Somehow he spent the night in the jungle that day. Next day, morning, he met a hunter. A hunter and his wife were going, and he met him. Ramanuja asked, where are you going? The hunter said, we are going to Kanchipuram. So the boy said, can I join you? I have lost my way and I have to go to Kanchipuram myself. The hunter said, no problem, come with us. It's a long distance, so you can join us. So Ramanuj followed the hunter and his wife. Finally, that day night, they reached a certain place where they took a halt. The wife of the hunter was very thirsty. She asked the hunter for some water. The hunter said, it's night time. You will not get any water. Please control yourself, or hold yourself for some time. In the morning, we will get some water for you. In the morning, they told Ramanuj, go and get some water. So Ramanuj collected a small broken pot and went searching. Nearby, he saw a well which had some steps by which he could go down. So he went down, bought some water, and gave it to the hunter and his wife. They drank it and they asked for more. So he went thrice to get the water. When he went for the fourth time to collect the water and came back, he was shocked to see that the hunter and his wife were missing. He searched for them here and there, but he could not find them. Finally, after walking a few distance, he saw a main road and saw a stranger passing by. He asked him, can you please tell me which side is Kanchipuram? I have to go to my village. The man said, hey, have you gone mad? You don't recognize me? You are already in Kanchipuram. He said, in one day I came to Kanchipuram? Yes, I am your person from your village and this is the road of your village. Immediately, Ramanuja understood that they were none other than Narayan and Lakshmi who had come to help him. He was very thankful to them and he recited a shloka that time. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Ch Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya. He is a Bhagwan for the Brahmanas. Go Brahmanaya for the cows. Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So in this way, he paid obeisances to him. He went home and told his mother and wife all that had happened. But though they were saddened, they decided they will not say anything about this to anybody. Not even, they will not complain even against Yadav Prakash. Finally, there over in the forest, they searched for Ramanuj, but since they could not find, they thought he must have been eaten by some animal. So they were happy internally, though they shed some crocodile tears in front of Govind. Finally, after completing their yatra, they came back and they were shocked to see Ramanuj. Yadav Prakash made a big drama, a big show of happiness, as if he was very much saddened by his separation. Ramanuj knew everything was just an eyewash, but he did not say anything. When Diptimati asked about her son Govind to Yadav Prakash said, in the Ganges, Govind found a shivling and got attached to it. While returning at Sri Kalahasti, he became deeply devoted to Shiva and stayed there itself and was doing devotional service there itself. Diptimati soon went and joined her son over there at Sri Kalahasti. And she was very happy when she heard that her son had become a devotee. I mean, in today's date, whenever we see a child has got some inclination towards devotion, the parents always try to stop it. But in those days, a parent would feel proud if the child would take up the path of devotion. So finally, Ramanuja started attending the school of Yadav Prakash, but both internally had some conflicts. One day, Yamunacharya came to Kanchipuram. He was staying in Srirangam. I told you, in the temple which was surrounded by 7 walls, and the place was surrounded by 2 rivers, that is Kaveri, taking 2 forms and surrounding the place. So Yamuna came over there to Kanchipuram to visit Varadaraj temple. Kanchipuram has got a very famous temple called Varadaraj Perumal temple. There he saw Yadav Prakash walking with his hands on the shoulder of an effulgent boy. This boy was none other than Ramanuj. He inquired about him, and everyone told him that Ramanuj was a very nice devotee of the Lord. Yamuna was very happy about Ramanuj, but at the same time, he was very sad that he was in the hands of a Mayavadi. He prayed to Lord that please get Ramanuj back under his shelter. Thus praying, he went back to Srirangam. Once the princess of Kanchi was haunted by a ghost. So Yadav Prakash was called to drive away the ghost. However, the ghost inside the princess' body started laughing and loudly said, whatever mantra you may read is not going to have any effect on me. However, if your disciple Ramanuj comes and reads the mantras and keeps his feet on my head. Then I will definitely go. On that, Ramanuj was called, and Ramanuj ordered the ghost to leave the prince's body. On that, the ghost said, "Please keep your head on my on the please keep your feet on the head of this princess, and I will go." The Ramanuj asked, "What is the proof that? What is the sign we come to know that you have left?" The ghost said, "While leaving, I'll break the tallest branch of this banyan tree and go." Thus saying, Ramanuj kept his feet on the princess, and the ghost left the princess' body, and as told, signaled by breaking the highest branch of the tree. This made Ramanuj a talk of the town. Everyone was talking about him, and this was creating a big rift between him and Yadav Prakash. But still, both were silent. Once Yadav Prakash was giving a commentary on the line Sarva Khalam Idam Brahmam Neha Marsti Kinchinaha. So the teacher explained Sarva Khalam Idam Brahmam. Everything is God. This tree, air, sky, everything is stone, animal, everything is God. Even the human beings are God. And Neha Manasti Kinchinaha, that means there is nothing more than God. Everything else is variegatedness. What you see is Maya. On that, Ramanuja immediately intervened and said, Sarvakhalam idam Brahmam does not mean what you are saying. It means everything emanates from that God. Everything is maintained by God, and in the end, everything goes back to God. Hence, everything which is it is the energy of the Lord which is visible. And Neha Manasti Kinchana means the whole base of variegatedness which is actually existent is God. This enraged Yadav Prakash, and it threw him out of the school. And after that, Ramanuj never returned. A few days later, he met Kanchipurna and expressed his desire to become his disciple. Though coming from a low caste, he was an exalted devotee. On repeated request from Ramanuja, the seva of daily getting water from the well for Varadaraj temple was given to Ramanuj. So daily he used to get water from the well for the seva at the temple. In the meantime, Yamunacharya was very old and he was nearly 100 years. He was still desiring to have Ramanuj as his disciple and was wondering when would he come from Kanchipuram to Srirangam. One of his disciples, Tiruvangar, was his leading sannyasi disciple, asked him, how can we serve Lord when he is beyond our senses? On that, Yamuna replied, if one serves the Vaishnavas and follows their footsteps of Mahajans, automatically the truth about Lord will be realized in one's heart. So, this was understood from this explanation that one who serves Vaishnavas is the best form of achieving Lord. If one can serve Lord, or serve Vaishnavas, is as good as serving Lord, and Lord will get equally happy as he is being serving the Vaishnavas. And thus he would get the secret of the Lord realized in his heart. During that time, Yamuna was keeping a very bad health. Somehow, through some visitors, he came to know that Ramanuj had left his Mayavadi guru and now he was separate from him. So he asked his disciple Mahapurna to go to Kanchipuram and get Ramanuj. Mahapurna reached Kanchipuram, met Ramanuj, and told him that Yamunacharya wanted to meet him. Hearing Yamunacharya's wishes, he immediately completed his seva and left for Srirangam. Mahapurna asked, why don't you go and inform your parents and your wife, your mother and your wife, your family members? You're not informed. You're just coming to Kanchipuram, to Srirangam. On that, Ramanuja said, what is the importance of a family before the order of a guru? From Ramanuja's this statement, we understand how Guru's words were considered to be supreme in those days. Thus, they departed. In the meanwhile, as Yamunacharya was doing with a very bad health and he knew he would not going to pull on for long, he called his Grahastha devotees and he gave them few instructions. The first instruction was he asked for forgiveness. In general, all great acharyas in their last moment ask for forgiveness as they have to scold and be strict with Grahastha devotees while training them. Even Prabhupada, just at the time of his death, when he was in his bad last days, he again and again asked for forgiveness from all his devotees. He said, yes, I was strict at you all at n number of times, but I had no other option. That was went for your betterment. But from my heart, I have no ill feelings towards you. Thus, all acharyas during the last days ask for forgiveness. Secondly, he asked them to treat all the brahmacharis as their own children. And last, he asked them to daily go to Ranganath temple, offer flowers, do the seva, and be connected to the temple. Thus, saying all these advices, giving all these advices, Yamunacharya left his body. Yes, he left his body before Ramanuj could meet him. He was very much desiring to meet Ramanuj, but before Ramanuj would come, he left his body. At that time, Ramanuj just entered Srirangam and he saw Yamuna's body kept in front of him. The saddened Ramanuj was seeing this effulgent body of Yamunacharya. He noted one thing very important. 3 fingers of his right hand, 3 fingers were closed. Only the thumb and the last finger was open. It was something like this. Ramanuj asked everyone who was there, all his disciples, do you know the reason why he is having these 3 fingers closed? They all wondered. No one knew the reason behind it. But Ramanuj, after just thinking for some time, boldly gave 3 declarations. First, he declared, I shall serve Lord and spread Vaishnava message and establish Pancharatrika Vidhi everywhere. 1 finger of Yamunacharya opened. Second announcement he made, I shall write commentaries on Vedanta Sutra which will destroy the misconceptions created by the Mayavadis, and it will be called as Sri Bhashya. The 2nd finger opened. And finally, I shall name, the 3rd proclamation which he made, I shall name my disciple with the name of, on the name of Parashar Muni, as Parashar Muni had written the Vishnu Puran, and the 3rd finger also opened. That was the intense mental connection between Yamunacharya and Ramanujacharya. Though he had not met him once, still he became his guru. And listening to his proclamations, Yamunacharya's fingers opened. All were astonished and understood that the 3 unfulfilled wishes of Yamunacharya is going to be fulfilled by Ramanuj. Immediately he left Srirangam without even visiting the temple and taking darshan of the deities. He said, I do not want to see the Lord who did not allow me to meet my Guru even in the last minute. It was just a few minutes that he missed the darshan of his Guru. He returned to Kanchipuram, but he became grave now. His devotion intensified. He lost his mother Kantimati and his wife Rashmabai was not a serious devotee as her husband was. Ramanuja's intimacy with Kanchipurna increased day after day. And I told you, Kanchipurna was such an elevated devotee that daily night Lord Varadaraj of Varadaraj Perumal temple used to talk with Kanchipurna when Kanchipurna used to fan the Lord. Without being without a guru, Ramanuja requested Kanchipurna to give him Diksha, on which Kanchipurna said that he was a person from the low caste. So once he thought of a plan. He said, let me invite him for a nice feast, on which Kanchipurna agreed. On the fixed day, Ramanuj asked his wife to prepare a nice feast, and he went to invite Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna at the same time took another route and came to Ramanuja's house. He told his wife, give me whatever is there fast. I cannot wait. The Lord Seva cannot wait for the sake of my belly. Please give me the food, whatever is prepared. And before Ramanuj would come, he ate off all the food. Ramanuj's plan was to eat the remnants of what Kanchipurna had eaten, so that in that way he could get blessed by Kanchipurnas. But this is the etiquette of the Vaishnavas. All junior Vaishnavas, even I have eaten the remnants of great Vaishnavas. It is a rare chance you get. Generally, you don't get a chance to eat these remnants from the same plate. If you are able to eat some food left over by them, it is a great deal. And this was exhibited very nicely by Ramanujacharya. When by the time Ramanuja could return, Kanchipurna finished his food, and whatever was left, he took the banana leaf and gave it to a Shudrani and went off. When Ramanuja came home, he saw his wife cooking again. He asked what happened. She said, Kanchipurna came, had his food, and went off. So I have taken my bath and I have started cooking for you. He asked, why did you take bath? She said, he was after all a Shudra. I am going to cook for you. That time Ramanuja said, you still not have realized who is a Vaishnava, how great Vaishnava he is. When finally Kanchipurna left for a few months to Tirupati to serve Lord Balaji. One night in his dream, Varadaraj came and told him, I am feeling too hot and nobody does proper charm or fanning of mine other than you. Come back to me. He immediately returned to Kanchipuram and started his seva. Now Ramanuj told that he had some doubts in his mind and he wanted Kanchipurna to ask those doubts to the Lord. On that, Kanchipurna said, you tell me tomorrow, I will ask all these doubts to Lord Varadaraj. But that very night, Lord gave 6 instructions to Kanchipurna and asked him to convey it to Ramanuj. First was, I am the supreme and complete Parabrahman, and everything comes from me. Both God and Jiva are separate and eternal. Surrendering to the lotus feet of Lord is the only method to get liberated. Even by chance, if one comes and surrenders to me, and at the time of death he is unable to remember me, at that time of death, then also he will get liberation. For one who has surrendered, for them I personally come to take them to my dham. And Ramanuj, you should take Diksha from Mahapurna, the same person whom Yamuna had sent to get him over there. But by the time he reached, Yamuna had passed away. So when all these instructions were told by Kanchipurna, Yamuna was shocked. Ramanuj was shocked. How come These same questions I was to ask, but Lord Himself has answered before am I asking. He was really shocked. What had happened was, at the time when his wife had done this, he scolded his wife very badly and left his house and gone to the temple. At that time, a Brahmana came to his house, but the Brahmana came for begging for some food. His wife was so hot tempered that time, she didn't even bother to see the Brahmana. She fired him left and right and drove him away. When Ramanuj was coming back from the temple, he saw this Brahmana and he asked him. And the Brahmana said, I had gone to your house, but your wife scolded me and did not give me any food. He did not like this. Nevertheless, he kept his mouth shut. In the meanwhile, there at Srirangam, now that Yamunachari had passed away, Tiruvanga, who was the next Acharya, was after Yamunachari, he was looking after the proceedings of the mutt. But somehow, though he was a great, educated, and very learnedly person, he was not able to give the commentaries as his teacher was giving. On the occasion of the first death ceremony or the death anniversary of Yamunacharya, all the Vaishnavas of Srirangam decided that they should get Ramanujacharya can understand the intense desire between a student and his teacher. There Mahapurna had left from Srirangam and here Ramanuj had left from Kanchipuram and walking after 5 days, they met somewhere in between near a Vishnu temple. They both expressed their feelings to one another and the purpose behind their journey. Immediately Mahapurna said, let's go to Kanchipuram. On that he said, I cannot wait and delay matters. Already, death had already separated me from meeting Yamunacharya. I do not want to take a risk. Let me get initiated this very moment itself. So at that, Ramanuj got Diksha. And in the traditional parampara of Sri Sampradaya, then all of them proceeded towards Kanchipuram. Even Kashmabal, his wife, got initiated under Mahapurna. So the Guru and Guru Mata, along with Ramanuj and his wife, came back to Kanchipuram, and they were staying in Kanchipuram in his house itself. One day, it so happened that Ramanuj's wife and Mahapurna's wife were both drawing water from the well. Suddenly, some few water drops splashed from Mahapurna's wife's pot to the pot of Ramanuj's wife. On that, she murmured something which pinched her. She felt very sad about it. She said sorry about it, but still she was in her own world. Hearing this, she sat down and started crying. When Mahapurna returned, he asked her the cause of her crying, and he told her, see, don't take this as a very serious matter. Take this as an indication of the Lord. He is inviting us back to Sri Ranga. Let's leave immediately. They did not wait for Ramanuj to return also, and they both, husband and wife, left. On this, Ramanuja again scolded his wife very much. He was not at all feeling, happy about this entire incident. In fact, he was again and again complaining to Kanchipurna about his wife not being serious about the devotional service. When Ramanuja left for the temple, again a Brahmana had come to ask for food. His wife, Ramanuja's wife, took out the entire anger on him and sent him back. This time, when Ramanuja came, saw him, and he told him, what happened? He asked him. He said, your wife has sent me back without food. Ramanuja thought of an idea. He wrote a letter and sent it with the same Brahmana and told him, go and give it to my wife. Tell him that you are coming from her mother's village, her father's village. And he went over there to his house. This time he was received very nicely by his wife. He was given food and made to sit and given food and everything. And when Ramanuj returned, she gave this letter which he himself had written to Ramanuj to read. Ramanuj read the letter aloud and told her that her father is preparing for the marriage of his younger sister, and so her help is required in the house. Ramanuj said, right now I am busy in some work, so you go to your father's house with this old Brahmana. And she went along with this Brahmana to her father's house. As she left, Ramanuj went to Varadaraj Perumal temple and took sannyas from Kanchipurna. He had taken from Mahapurna, he had taken Diksha, but he had taken sannyas from Kanchipurna. His name was Yati Shrestha. His Diksha name, his sannyas name was Yati Shrestha. He had many disciples in a very short time. And two of his very prominent disciples were Kuresha and Dasarathi. As per Ramanuja, he could not leave Kanchipuram. Once his earlier guru, Prakash Yadav, the Mayavadi, his mother met Ramanuj and she was very much happy. She went and told her son, please go and take Diksha from him, which he said, which he was very against his principles. How could he take Diksha from his own student? So he went to Kanchipurna and asked him, please ask Lord Vadraj what I should do. On that, Lord also gave him the reply, go and take Diksha from Ramanuj. With a reluctant mind, with a reluctant heart, he went back to Ramanuj. In fact, the earlier day night, he got a dream also that he should go and surrender to Ramanuj. Yadav Prakash, finally, on reaching Ramanuj's ashram, asked him, what is the scriptural evidence that Vishnu is the supreme? This is the general problem with many of the people. Ramanuj looked at his disciples, Kuresha and Dasarathi. Kuresha immediately understood the glance of Ramanuj and explained the entire scriptural evidence. And Yadav Prakash, with tears in his eyes, accepted Diksha under Ramanuj. And now his new name was Govinda Das. At that time, his age was 80, and Ramanuj gave him seva. That is the best part in Vaishnavism is you take seva at any age. Prabhupada at the age of 67 went to the US, to a foreign country with no money, no backup. and just to fulfill his mission of his spiritual master, and asked him to write a book on Vaishnavachar. And finally, he wrote a book called Yadi Dharma Samunchay, and then he died. In meanwhile, Mahapurna sincerely requested Lord Ranganath, please somehow get Ramanuja back to Srirangam. In the meantime, Lord advised to send Yamunacharya's son Vararanga to Kanchipuram. Vararanga was a very beautiful singer, and he told, if Vararanga sings nicely and pleases Lord Varadaraj, in return, as a gift, he can ask for Ramanuja. So, as planned, he went there, sang the nice, beautiful songs to the Lord, and the plan worked out. Finally, Varadaraj told Ramanujacharya to go to Srirangam. Finally, he was declared the Acharya, and he was blessed by Lord Ranganath blessed Ramanujacharya with two boons. He could cure anyone with any ailments or disease. He can free and protect any devotees from the clutches of Maya. And thus time passed slowly. With these two boons, Ramanuja's name, fame spread all over in all directions. Ramanuja remembered his cousin brother Govind, who had helped him to save his life. He knew very well that he was a Sri Kalahasti. So he told his mama, Shailapurna, to somehow persuade him and get him back to Vaishnavism and get him back to pure devotional service. So Shailapurna was staying nearby, near Sri Kalahasti, went to Kalahasti and was sitting near a pond and giving lectures on Krishna Katha. That time he met his brother, Ramanuja's brother, Govinda. But now Govinda did not recollect him. He was a mama for Govinda also, because they both were his sister's daughters, sons. But Govinda, since he had left at a young age, did not remember Shailapurna. So somehow Shailapurna asked him, what are you collecting these flowers for? He said, I am collecting for the Lord. So who is your Lord? He said, Shiva is my Lord. He said, Shiva doesn't need all these flowers. In fact, he has burnt all his material desires and applied the ash on his body. Somehow, with due courses and lectures, Govinda also became a devotee of Vaishnavism. He came to Ramanuja, but his attraction towards his guru, Shailapurna, was too much, and he went back. Here in Srirangam, both Ramanuja and Mahapurna had a great time discussing scriptures. One day, Mahapurna told Ramanuja to take Vaishnava mantra from Goshti Purna. Goshti Purna was a very senior Vaishnava and was staying at Tirukutiyur. However, when he went to Goshti Purna, he said, I give Vaishnava mantra only to one who is very, very pure. So he told him, go back now, and I will call you again after some days. So like this, 18 times Ramanuja was sent back without being given the secret mantra or the Vaishnava mantra. Finally, after 18 times, he agreed to give the mantra to Ramanuj, but on a condition. He said the mantra should not be given to anyone, and only to someone who is free from all desires can chant it. He finally received the 8-lettered mantra, which could be recited, which could take the reciter to Vaikuntha. And the mantra was Om Namo Narayanaya. It was secretly told in his ears. On the way back, he reached a Vishnu temple at Tirukutiyur itself. He saw a lot of people around the temple. He called them all and told them, I'm going to give you a very secret thing. Please come. And he climbed on the top of the temple and started shouting, this is the secret mantra by which you will all get out of the cycle of birth and death and go back to Vaikuntha. And started shouting, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. On hearing this, all the people were wondering. But when the news reached Goshtipurna was very angry. He came there shouting, I told you, you should not give this mantra to anyone. Whoever gives this mantra like this will go to hell. You'll have to suffer in hell for a long time. On that, Ramanuja said, I don't mind going to hell and suffering in hell. If by chanting this mantra, if some people can go back to Godhead, I don't mind going to hell. The same way Acharyas behave. How many of us know how much of trouble Prabhupada took in his initial days when he was in US, eating only boiled potatoes and surviving? And all that he did was for us, so that we all could get a route or a process by which we all could get out of the pain of birth and death. This is how an Acharya's heart is, and how Acharyas have given up their life for the service of mankind. They have never thought any differences between all these people. They have said, only you get this mantra, take this mantra, chant it, and get out of the cycle of birth and death. One small story to add on. Of course, there are a lot of stories, but just a small one to add on. Once Ramanuja's favorite student, Puresha, asked him to explain the meaning of a Bhagavad Gita shloka. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. That very famous shloka. He wanted to understand the inner meanings. For that, Ramanuja said that you will have to serve your Guru for 1 year selflessly. Puresha replied, that's too long a time. So Ramanuja asked him to bring Bhiksha for 1 month. If you go to Vrindavan and all, many sadhus do Madhukari. They just collect Bhiksha and they survive on that. Because that is the most important factor in a Vaishnava's life. The most important factor is our ego. And how much that ego is hurt when we have to ask for food. And when someone asks, means he is getting humbled. He is getting humbled. And that is what Acharyas want their disciples to be humbled. So he told them, for 1 month, you go house to house doing Bhiksha or Madhukari. And after 1 month, I will explain you the meaning. So if anyone wants a true understanding of any shloka or any sloka or any mantra of the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, the purpose is one should be humble. If one is not humble, he is not entitled to be a recipient of the mantra. His other student, Dashrathi, he came up with the same question after a few days. He knew that the disciple was very puffed up. He said, again, I have to make him humble first before I explain to him. So he sent him to Goshtipurna to understand the meaning. So Dashrathi went and served Goshtipurna for a long time, for nearly a year. But after a whole year's service, Goshtipurna just told him one line. Go back to Ramanuja, he will explain you the entire meaning of this verse. So on, when he came back to Ramanuj, that day, Mahapurna's daughter, Atulai, had come there. She had been married to a family where her husband and her in-laws were giving her a lot of work in the house. And she alone could not do a lot of work. She asked for a servant from her mother-in-law. Please give me a servant to help me. She said, why don't you go to your father's house and get a servant for yourself? So she had come over here asking for help. Immediately, Ramanuja sent Dashrathi along with her as a servant. Mind you, a great scholar like Dashrathi, one of his principal devotee, but just to humble him down, he sent him as a servant. He went there and he served there for a long time. And in their house, regularly, Vaishnavas used to come and there used to be debate and lectures. In one such lecture, a few people had come and were giving a wrong interpretation of the meanings. On that, Dashrathi intervened and said, "This is what you are saying is wrong." They immediately taunted, "Oh, a servant is going to explain to us all these meanings." And then, when he explained the meanings correctly, they all felt very bad. They all said sorry to him and they said, "We were doing a great sin by employing a great scholarly person like you in doing all this menial job." When Ramanuja was informed about this, he became very happy and he said, "Now you are ready to understand this verse." So, if anyone wants to understand any meaning correctly or any shlokas correctly, the first principle is one has to be humble. The minute you are humble, Lord will explain it automatically in your heart or through a guru or a Vaishnava. So, in this way, there are n number of stories of Ramanujacharya. There is many stories, but we have got limitation of time. So, with this, we would like to conclude today's lecture. Jigar Prabhu, I think you can complete the recording for now.